Garden Patch, a new print and play roll and write from Circle J Games, a new one in their Quiltable line, has you not only managing your quilt, but also managing your farm. So how does that all come together to where it is related to a quilting? Stick around and I'll show you how it plays and how that all intertwines, and then I'll tell you what I think about this one. All right, let's go ahead and learn how to play Quiltable Garden Patch. Each player is going to need a sheet, a writing utensil, and then you need 2 dice that will be used for everybody. So on each turn, the 2 dice are going to be rolled. All players are then going to use these 2 dice in order to do one of 3 different actions. You can either take both indicated actions, so let's go ahead and just say it was like this. So you can either use both dice to do the actions as denoted up here, or you can use any one value to gain skill, or take one of any action. Once everyone's done using those dice, you're going to roll again until the end game is triggered. The end game is going to happen when either someone's quilt is fully sewn, or someone has all of their trucks, their pantries, and their gardens full. So let's go ahead and start off with these actions. So first thing I'm going to say about with the actions is you'll see these numbers around them. Those are the skills. So as you improve skill, you are going to be circling the next number available in the area. And that is going to denote how powerful the action is going to be. Let's go ahead and say this is how my sheet currently looks. So we're going to look at the action for 1. 1 is invent. You're going to check off either 1, 1, 1, or 2 boxes towards creating an invention in the shed. Here is the shed down here. So in this instance, if I did it, I would just simply cross off one of the actions or one of the boxes. When these get filled, you are going to do what they say. The planter is going to fill a garden completely with plants. A weaver is going to fill a truck completely, and a stitcher, you can sew 2 blocks in your quilt for free. Next, we have plant. You are going to add the denoted number of plants to one garden. Here are your gardens, so you would just simply fill it in. Next is you have harvest. You're going to cross off that many plants to add, or 1 plant to add that many vegetables to a nearby pantry. So I've done 2. So I'm going to say, you know what, let's go ahead and cross off this, and that is going to add 2 plants to my, or 2 vegetables to my pantry. When it says nearby, these lines denote nearby, so I would not be able to add them over here. I would need to do them into this nearby one. As I said, these lines are what denotes that. 4 is we have design. You're going to check off that many boxes towards designing blocks in one park. So here are your parks. So this is, I can check off 1 box. I am simply going to choose one of these, and I'm going to go ahead and check that box off. Once all 3 boxes are checked off, you have unlocked that block. So there is my frog. Close enough. So that is designing. Trading is you're going to cross off the denoted number of vegetables to add 1 fabric square to a nearby truck. So in this instance, it's 3. So I could say, you know what, we're going to go 1, 2, and 3, and that adds a fabric square up into here. Finally, we have sew. You're going to cross off a certain number of fabric squares to sew 1 designed block into your quilt. A designed block is one that you have fully unlocked down here. So when you choose which block you're going to sew in here, you're going to sew it in. It does need to be next to a previously sewed block if available. Obviously, your first one you can put where you want, but then everyone after that needs to be adjacent to there. When you sew a block, you may gain one of the following bonuses. Is you can put cross off this ×2 next to that block type. So here in instance, I've done the frog. So if I say drew my frog in here in my poorly designed way, I could then cross off this ×2. The other thing I can do is I can instead improve the skill of that one. If you look, the frog is tied to the trade action right there. So I could instead have done that. You'll notice their icons are also by it to help denote which ones are that. So you can either fill in the ×2 or you can improve the skill. What the ×2 does is when you go ahead and take that action, so if I had the 5 and I was taking this trade action, I could do it a second time as well. So in essence, I could be doing 3 actions, the 5 ×2 and then the 2. So, as I said, you're going to go until someone fills their quilt or someone has all their trucks, pantry, and gardens filled, in which case you are going to move into your end game scoring. For end game scoring, you're going to get 3 points for every row or column where all of them are different. That's why it says A, B, C. You are going to get 4 points for every row or column where they are all the same. You are going to get 1 point per block sewn into your quilt. You are going to get a point for unused fabric squares. Every fully designed block down here is going to give you 2 points. You're going to get 1 point for every set of 2 different unused vegetables. So that is vegetables from different pantries. 1 point per unharvested plant as well. If there is a tie, that's when you are going to look at these blocks up here. These denote your row and column plans. Whoever has matched the most of that will win the tiebreaker. So that is the basics of Quiltable Garden Patch. Let's go ahead and get into what I think about this one. All right, so there's the basics of Garden Patch. So if you have watched any of our previous Quiltable coverage before, I'll include a link up there if you have not. You'll know one of the things that does drive me to the different Quiltable games is the fact they are always evolving. They're always putting a new, fresh twist on things. And so that way it's not like playing the same game over and over. And I will say this one is definitely one of the bigger departures, in my opinion, from what they were doing before. And in that regards, with this one, it's that you are basically almost assembly lining what you're going to need to be doing, where, you're going to have to, get your plants down and then use those plants to get your vegetables, use your vegetables to get your fabric, and then use your fabric to put out the designs. But first you have to unlock those designs. So there is a lot more moving parts in here that you need to have work in concert and going with each other in order to actually get those quilt squares going. So instead of just being able to right away put in whatever quilt square you want, you are going to have to kind of, choose which ones do you want to design. Are you going to try and focus on getting those pattern matches because you think maybe there might be a tiebreaker? Or you're just going to go straight with basically 1 or 2 different patterns, try and score high, and just try and really excel at a couple of different actions and hope that that tampers down what happens with your other actions. And that is another one that a lot of their games kind of do have here and there of, kind of choosing the avenue, choosing the path you really want to go in the game. But this one kind of seems even more so of, which actions are you going to try and upgrade? Which of those quilt squares are you really going to try and focus on getting in? Because when you sew those in, you can now do that action twice by putting that ×2 multiplier on there. So are there going to be certain actions you're going to want to make sure you optimize over others and then just try and make do with where those other ones are? Or are you going to try and go for a more balanced approach? And that is, like I said, what I find is really cool and interesting about this design approach is, having to leave all those paths that people can do. So when you are playing, you can choose different ones each time. See which strategy works best. Maybe try and do a counter strategy, what you did before, etc. And then along those lines of those decisions, like I said, you can use both dice and do 2 actions, or you can start improving those actions, or, and this is always nice so you're not left by the whim of the dice, is you can always just do 1 of any action instead of doing 2 actions. So that does open that up to where you are not, constrained exactly by the dice. It's just, you're doing less. But then again, if that action you choose to do is ×2, then you're still doing 2 actions. So it, like I said, just opens up that realm of possibility. And then kind of touching on the artwork is I really enjoy how they do the different quilt squares and designs to kind of tie in with the theme or the time of year, etc., so that they do feel different. It does feel unique and not just like they're regurgitating all the squares from all the times before. So these ones do have that gardening and springy and nature theme to it. In addition to that, the full color version, which you'll have seen, they did that really cool thing at the back artwork where your trucks are sitting there and you have the little paths leading down to your gardens and stuff. So just kind of that extra touch shows a level of care to making sure things look really well for you. So again, we're going to get into why you might want to back this. If you are looking for that print and play roll and write, that has you needing to build up and build up and build up to get to what you want to do, this is going to be one for you. If you're looking for one that's got those different paths that you need to try and go through of, which skills are you thinking are going to be most important for you, and which ones do you want to kind of leave to the past and not be as powerful, then this is going to be the one for you. If you're wanting one where you can dictate the strategy you want, even regardless of the dice rolls, by either leveling up certain skills and making them more powerful, giving them the ×2, or just choosing them over others when the dice are rolled, then this is going to be one for you, one that's not, as I said, constrained fully by the dice. And if you are looking for one of them that has that forward planning of knowing that you need to get this in order to be able to get this, in order to be able to get this, in order to do this, then this is the one for you. That one that has like the long-term planning and the trying to definitely manage your resources, because like as those skills get more powerful, it requires less items in order to put those fabric squares in. So maybe you are going to bulk up at the beginning, get everything ready to go, and then just start blasting your quilt with squares upon squares upon squares. So that is Quiltable Garden Patch. If you head down below, you will find a link to the Kickstarter so you can follow it and be alerted when this campaign does launch. Also down there, you can go ahead and hit like, subscribe, comment, share, and ring the bell. Let me know what your favorite thing is to grow in the garden. Alrighty, so until next time, get out there and grow some stuff.